Andrew, are we ready?
Once we get, we were trying to get the live feed started. Once we get that started, we'll be ready.
So it's on Facebook Live now.
It's on? It's on? Okay. Let me check with Michael and make sure he is.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the January 13th public hearing of the Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Commission. The Commission is charged with regulating the subdivision of property in the unincorporated areas of Jefferson County. You'll be given the decision today of the Commission regarding subdivision requests, and the plat representatives will receive a decision in writing within 10 business days. Please note that any subdivision approved today is not complete. In order to complete that subdivision of property, the final plat must be recorded in the office of the judge of probate. County staff will be coordinating with the surveyors of today's approved preliminary plats to prepare the approved plats for recording. The Commission is also charged with evaluating requests for rezoning of property and advising the County Commission for their final determination. All decisions made by the Commission today regarding zoning cases is advisory only, and the final determination of the zoning will be made by the Jefferson County Commission in a subsequent public hearing, for which all property owners within 500 feet will also be notified. If you have any electronic devices, request that you put them on silent so as not to disturb the meeting today. We'll start off with a roll call from the clerk, please.
Brian D. Grove. Here. Dr. Rose Dickerson.
Here.
Christy Forsythe.
Here.
Ken Lowry.
Here.
Jay Miller.
Here.
Chris Nicholson. Here. Georgia McCoy O'Neill. Here. Michael and Siegler.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, may I have a motion regarding the reading of the minutes from the December 9th public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we suspend the rules and approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. So first we're going to hear the subdivision cases today. Staff will present the case to the board, and then we will call for opposition if there is any, and the applicant and or their representative may be asked to come forward to the podium and answer any questions. If you are asked to come to the podium, so I don't have to say this every time, come up, tell us your name and your address before we get started. So, all right. Mr. Martin, you want me to call the case or you want me to?
You can call the case and then I can give you the details.
All right, so first case today is S210099. The owner is Little Warrior Properties, the applicant, Mr. Wagan. This is a request for 4 lots proposed in Little Warrior Estates.
Yes, this is a proposed subdivision to split 1 acreage tract into 4 lots of record for residential use. This property was actually brought before the Planning and Zoning Commission in 2009, and it was approved. It hasn't been any changes on it. However, the plat was never recorded within the 12-month time frame, thus expiring. So the applicant is here to bring that before the Commission again today. There's no anticipated traffic or operation issues. It does comply with all our zoning regulations. No right-of-way dedication is required. No floodplain is on this property as well. Staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval.
Okay, thank you. Is there any opposition for this case today? Okay, thank you, Michael. Any questions for the applicant from anyone?
Is the applicant here?
Would you come up and Dr. Dickerson has a question for you.
Yes, I'm John Charles Vines, 1509 Buddy Vines Camp Road, Bessemer 35023.
I was just curious, it didn't get recorded back in 2009? So you're back. Can you just explain why that didn't get recorded?
That's a great question, Doctor. We thought that it had been recorded, and we only found out that it had not been recorded by the surveyor when a customer wanted to buy one of the lots.
Okay.
And then he came back to us and says, hey, that was never recorded. So now we're back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any of the commissioners? Mr. Vines, thank you. If there's no more discussion, I'll close the public hearing on case S210099 and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve case S210099.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, so the next subdivision case is S210100. The owner and applicant, Janita Jones. This is a request for Jones addition to Ensley, one lot proposed. Mr. Martin?
Yes, this is a proposed resurvey to combine 4 lots of record into 1 lot for residential use. It's currently being used for our residents, non-conforming prior to the county enforcing the subdivision regulations. The county staff has reviewed this. It does comply with our zoning regulations. There's no anticipated road or traffic operation issues. No additional right-of-way is required. Staff recommendation for this resurvey is approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. So is there anyone here in opposition to this case? All right, any questions from any of the commissioners for the applicant? All right, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on this case and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval on case S210100.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Next subdivision case, S210101. Property owner, applicant is Bradley Harvey. This is subdivision with 2 lots proposed in the Trafford area. Mr. Martin?
Yes, this is a proposed subdivision for 1 acreage tract to be divided into 2 lots of record for residential use. This property was actually brought before the commission in 2020. However, it was not recorded in that 12-month time frame, so it's coming back before the commission again today. One note on this, it does comply with our zoning regulation. However, it does have split zoning. There's I-3 up here on the north side of the property that's already existing there, and A1 is the rest of the property. So it does need to be rezoned under 1 zoning classification. However, that applicant has been made aware of that issue. Right-of-way has already been dedicated for South Creek Road, so no issue there. The staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval with an exception to the subdivision regulations to allow Lot 2 to be recorded with no road frontage.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. So I'll open the public hearing, and on this case, is there any opposition on this case today? All right, any questions from any of the commissioners for the applicant? All right, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion, please.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval on case S210101. Approval and exception to the subdivision regulations to allow Lot 2 to be recorded with no road frontage.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Next case is S210102. Property owner and applicant Barbara Hawkins. This is a request for the Hawkins family subdivision, 2 lots proposed in the corner area. Mr. Martin?
Yes, this is a proposed subdivision to combine 2 lots of record into 1 for residential use. Oh, excuse me. I've got the Wrong case. Let me try that again. The purpose of this subdivision is to split 1 acreage tract into 2 lots of record for residential and agricultural use. You can see here the division of the proposed land. Lot 1, Lot 2 here. Both have road frontage. It does comply with all our zoning regulations, and there's no anticipated road access or traffic operation issues. Right-of-way dedication will be required for Arkadelphia Road. That would be 30 feet from center line, where adjacent to the property. There's no flood hazard on this property, and the health department will have to sign as there is no sewer available to this property. The staff recommendation for this proposed subdivision is approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. Opening the public hearing for this case, is there any opposition? All right. Hearing none, any questions or comments from the commission? All right, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion on this case, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval on case S21-0102.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. So next case is S21-0103, owner and applicant Jennifer Armstrong. This is a request for Armstrong's resurvey 1 lot proposed in the McCalla area. Mr. Martin.
Yes, the purpose of this resurvey is to combine these existing 2 lots, Lot 402, 401 of Creek Trace Phase 4, as recorded in 2007. This is a proposal to bring those into 1 lot for residential use. It complies with our zoning regulations, no anticipated road access or traffic operation issues, no additional right-of-way is required, and there's no flood plain on this property. Staff recommendation for this resurvey is approval.
All right, thank you, Mr. Martin. Open the public hearing on this case. Is there any opposition to this case today? All right. Any comments or questions from the commissioners? All right, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval on case S21-0103.
Second.
All right, motion is second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. So moving right along, next subdivision case is S21-0104, owner and applicant George Goodwin. Request is Kerry Lane Estates Phase 2, 16 lots proposed in the Clay area. Mr. Martin.
Yes, sir. This is a proposal to split 1 acreage tract and 16 lots of record for garden home development. This is the Phase 2 of this development. It was approved in 2019 by the Planning and Zoning Commission. However, construction was not begun prior to the expiration of the approval. Therefore, it's back again today. It does comply with our zoning regulations. There's no road or traffic operation issues. Right-of-way will be dedicated by the plat. The staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. Opening the public hearing for this case. Is there any opposition today? All right. Hearing none. Any questions from the commissioners?
I just have one question.
Okay, would the applicant, you have it for staff or for the applicant?
The staff, do you know what size these lots will be?
Their garden home, which is, you guess what size, right?
Yeah. Do you know? I
You-
was just
I
curious.
can't,
Because it's 5 acres and they're putting 16.
I don't know if it's going to show up on this thing. Yeah, they're about 5,000 square feet. Some are 8,000.
Those is 5,000. They go up from there.
Yeah, there's some that are about, the ones on the end are about close to an acre there, or just under an acre.
Okay.
So these are, most of these long ones are, those are a quarter of an acre.
Dr. Dickerson, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion, please.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval on case S21-0104.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Our next subdivision case today is S21-0105. Applicant is Michael Burrow. This is Newfound Ridge, 67 lots proposed. This is in the Mount Olive area. Mr. Martin, please present the case.
Yes, sir. This is a subdivision to split 1 acres tract into the 67 lots of record for the single-family housing development and 2 conservation lots. This property was rezoned in 2019 by the Jefferson County Commission as a PUD. It just never went through the subdivision case, so it is here today for that. There are some minor traffic revisions that will have to happen in the site plan portion, but there's nothing that will keep it, that has to change on the plat that's substantial. The proposed subdivision is less dense than what was originally proposed in the rezoning case. However, it does conform to the layout. The contingencies and covenants still need to be filed to finalize the rezoning case, but it's been the past practice of staff to allow these contingencies to be satisfied during the time of the construction site plan approval process. Additional right-of-way is not required. There is a note, because of the floodplain existing on the property, which is on both the southern part and up here in the northern part as well, typically we will either, there's 2 options for the developer, either carve those off as conservation lots or to have the floodplain studied. This is all unstudied floodplain area, Zone A, you can see it here. And so the applicant has opted to carve off conservation lot. You can see this line here, and there's another portion, a little triangle to the north as well, that does encapsulate what appears to be the floodplain. I do want to make a note that this discussion was had after the initial assessment was made that floodplain development permit will be required due to proximity of the floodplain and the proposed lots, and because this is unstudied and the elevation is not precise, that floodplain development permit will still be required for those development of those lots. Other than that, the staff the staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. So I'm going to open the public hearing and ask if there's any opposition on this case today. No. Applicant here, would you mind coming up to the podium, please?
I'm John Kane with BB&C Development, P.O. Box 763, Gardendale, Alabama.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. I appreciate it. So, Mr. Martin went through some details about the floodplain. Did you understand those and have any issues with those?
Yes, sir. We meet the PUD requirements of 30% open and common, so all that area will be left for walking trails or nature, that type thing. So, this is the first I've actually heard that we can dedicate the floodplain area. I don't know if that would keep the residents from using it in its natural state. I guess that's something for Michael that you could address.
Correct. I mean, if it's a common area, you would just need to dedicate it that way. You could convey it to a preservation entity. That's perfectly your call. It's just the question is who maintains the property in the event of this, and of course that's what we work out on the backside.
Would we still, if we dedicated it to somebody else, would we still meet the PUD requirement of 30% open and common?
I believe that the way that works when you dedicate it to a preservation entity, they still, or you're still responsible for some level of maintenance on it. Yes, that's not going to jeopardize your plan.
Okay.
Okay. And Mr. Nicholson, is there anything you'd like to add from roads transportation?
I think Mr. Martin described everything what we were wanting to cover. Just to make y'all aware, Mr. Kane is as described. Since you are so close to that Zone A and AE, that during this next phase between now and final plat, when we get construction drawings, that'll be something that both parties are aware of during the review. And as Mr. Martin alluded to, we would require a permit because of the proximity to the floodplain.
Sure.
And also the same thing with the conservation lots. As we're reviewing, depending on how they're dedicated or who owns the lots and who maintains the conservation.
there would be a homeowners association drafted and, you know, to be able to take care of all the open and common areas. I'm just wondering, I mean, is there a preference of the county? Is there a preference that y'all have, whether or not we dedicate that or not? I mean, is there a preference?
So I'm okay if you want to work it out with staff to do the final plat on what the preference is. The commission, I don't believe we have a preference. So only that it's decided and recorded in the final plat.
Sure. That'd be great. Thank y'all for your time.
So any other questions or comments or remarks from the commissioners today? All right. Thank you, Mr. Kane. Somebody's phone's going off if you didn't hear it.
Andrew. Staff member's phone.
Andrew.
It's the staff member's phone.
Oh. Okay. So, sorry for see how distracting that can be. Okay. So I will close the public hearing on this case and ask for a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval on case S21-0105.
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thanks, everybody. Next case today is S21-0106. Property owner David Monticello's, applicant David Sellers. This is Sellers addition to Park Road, 3 lots proposed in the West Concord area. Mr. Martin, please present the case.
Yes, as mentioned, this is a proposed subdivision to split 1 acreage tract into 3 lots of record for residential use. You can see there's a lot 2 and a lot 1 and lot 3 that are within the inside portion of this lot. It does comply with our zoning regulations, and there's no anticipated road access or traffic operation issues. Right-of-way dedication will be required for Park Road, where it is adjacent to the property, but the recommendation will be approval and acceptance of the subdivision regulations to allow lots 1, 2, and 3 to be recorded with no road frontage.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Is there any open the public hearing? Is there any opposition on this case today? All right. Hearing none. Any questions from the commissioners for the applicant or staff? All right. Close the public hearing and ask for a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on case S21-0106 for approval with an exception to the subdivision regulations to allow lots 1, 2, and 3 to be recorded with no road frontage.
Second.
All right. So point of discussion. So the staff recommendation is only lots 1 and 3, not lots 2 for road frontage. Mr. Martin, is that which one's correct?
This was noted later in the process. There's some confusion on where the actual, because of how the plat is drawn, whether or not there actually is road frontage on 2. There may be touching the corner there. This was, when I was reviewing this recently, I realized that it looked like it was not actually touching the road. So if it's not touching the road, then there won't be any right-of-way required. But I can't confirm that on this one. So my recommendation was just leave it as lots 3, just in case it is. If it is touching, then the right-of-way would be required on that.
Okay. All right.
You see what I'm talking about right here? So it was noted in the report that right-of-way would be required, but based on this, there's some concern whether actually or not it is touching.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the clarification. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes. So our next case today is S21-0107. Got the McKays and the Hodges, or the owners. The applicant is Ricky McKay. This is McKay's addition to Morris, 2 lots proposed in the Majestic area. Mr. Martin, would you present the case, please, sir?
Yes, this is a subdivision to split a two lots of, an acreage tract. This is actually 2 acreage tracts, They're actually moving the boundary line in between. lot 1 and 2 here. So in order to do that, they do have to go through a subdivision case. But it does meet our zoning requirements. The exception will be required for the lot 1, which doesn't have road frontage. Other than that, there's no issues here. The staff recommendation for this subdivision is approval with an exception to the subdivision regulations to allow lot 1 to be recorded with no road frontage.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. I open the public hearing for this case. Is there any opposition today? All right. Hearing none, any questions for the applicant from the commissioners? All right, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion, please.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on case S21-0107 for approval with an acceptance to subdivision regulations to allow lot 1 to be recorded no road frontage.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. So our next case, subdivision case is S21-0109. Alex Novak is the property owner and Amos Reese is the applicant. This is a Novak survey, 2 lots proposed in the Pinson area. Mr. Martin, please present your case.
Yeah, as you can see here, this is a proposal to split 1 acreage tract into 2 lots of record for light industrial use. The proposed subdivision does comply with our zoning regulations. There's one issue of access here that's been noted, that either an easement will have to be put on this plat to reach lot 2 from Old Bradford Road, or that the Alabama Department of Transportation does grant access off of Highway 79, which is here to the south, as you can see, to the east. So either one of those options will work. So there will need to be a modification to the plat or that approval granted. Right-of-way dedication will be required along Old Bradford Road. That'll be 30 feet from center line. No floodplain on this, and the staff recommendation is approval with a modification to the plat that either an ingress-egress easement for lot 2 is added to lot 1, is added on lot 1 for a shared driveway, or access for lot 2 from the Highway 79 is approved by the Alabama Department of Transportation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. Is there any opposition to, opening a public hearing, is there any opposition to this case today? Applicant here, would you come forward for just a moment, please?
Amos Reese, 3556 Great Oak Lane, Birmingham 35223.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. I just wanted to just review with you the staff recommendations. I know Martin's taken them down, but about the potential modification of the plat for either the ingress, egress, or approval from Alabama Department of Transportation. Were you aware of that and understand it?
Yes, well, we're before the Department of Transportation.
And like if you want to go to DOT, Alabama DOT, and get that approved, you can. If not, you can have 1 or 2 things, options on the final plat.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant from the commission?
Mr. Reese, you don't have to come back up, just a quick comment to piggyback off that is, when you do bring it back up, you'll have to present Aldot's permit.
Okay.
The full permit for approval.
Okay.
If that's the route you get.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nicholson and Mr. Reese. All right. Are there any other questions?
Chairman, I have a question. So in this situation, are we going to just do the he's going to go for access for lot 2 from Highway 79, or are we still going to?
So I think the discussion in pre-meeting is that we would make the recommendation with both options.
Okay,
and
both options.
That way he can pursue whichever one he chooses.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Any more comments or discussion? All right. I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion on this case, please.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I can make a motion for case S21-0109, approval with a modification to the plat that an ingress-egress easement for lot 2 is added on lot 1 for a shared driveway, or access for lot 2 from Highway 79 is approved by the Alabama Department of Transportation.
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Motion passes. Thank you. So good news is we've completed our subdivision cases for today. And the better news is we're next going to hear our zoning cases. So the staff will present the case to the commission, and then we'll call for opposition. After the staff actually presents, if the applicant would like to add on to the presentation any, if not, they can wait and provide any discussion after the opposition. And we do have a time limit. Each side, the applicant and the opposition, has a maximum of 15 minutes. And Mr. Siegler, or Commissioner Siegler, will be keeping a watch on the clock for us to keep us honest as we go through. So I'll reiterate again, as I did in the beginning, that the Planning and Zoning Commission only makes recommendations on zoning cases. The Jefferson County Commission makes the final decisions. So we have 2 zoning cases today. The first one is zoning case Z210047. The owner is Triple O Cattle Company, and the applicant is, I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce your name, so I'll...
Odalin.
Okay, thank you. I hate to mess it up, so thank you. And this is a request to a change of zoning to A1 agricultural for cattle. The current zoning is R2 single family. This is 117 acres in the Pinson area. Mr. Brown, would you present the case, please?
Yes, sir. So as you already mentioned, the applicant is John M. Odalin, and the property owner is Triple O Cattle Company. They are requesting a rezoning from R2 single family district to A1 agriculture for pasture land. He needs this 117 acre tract for his cattle to graze on. The addresses are 7286 Cherry Drive and 7390 Old Dixiana Road. Properties in the Pinson Road, in the Pinson area. Staff is recommending approval of this rezoning request, and we received no letters of opposition from surrounding property owners.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Adalon, do you want to add anything to his presentation? If you do, come up and give us your name and...
Just real quick, yep, John Dolan. Mailing address is 7642 Barclay Terrace in Trussville, 35173. It's actually 3 plots, and one of them already is A1. And so we're just evening them out so that they're all the same. So we actually have 3 units there.
Thank you. And if you want to just hang there for a second, let's see if we have any opposition. Is there any opposition to this case today? All right, so you have a seat and let her come up, please.
I'm Trish Thurman, and my property is at the end of Cherry Drive. I own a little more than 4 acres, and the request of the property, it does join mine, and I'm not thrilled about it. Would really damage my access to my outside, where I have 2 screened-in porches. Who wants to go outside and have the smell and the flies would just ruin my outside area, my pool, and it'd be not a good thing for me as a property owner to have 100 acres of cows at my property, and that's why I oppose it. And beg your pardon? Your address. 7224 Cherry Drive, and also it's another. There's 2.5 acres that adjoins mine that is, I think they've got is 86, but I own that too. And so, and both, beg your pardon? Cherry Drive. But mine is Cherry Drive. And because my outside will be totally diminished with the smell, that's 100 acres worth of cows. That's a lot of cows. And okay,
yeah, I was going to ask that. So it's Ms. Thurman, right? Ms. Thurman, is that right?
Thurman, yes.
Thurman. Okay, so Mr. Brown is going to show us, he'd like you to show us where your property is in relation to the parcels in question.
While he's looking for that, Ms. Thurman, are there any other residents around other than you? Are there other homes? Not at the end of Cherry Drive. I'm at the end, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 other property owners that are on the side that I'm on.
Mr. Brown's handing you the laser pointer. If you wouldn't mind kind kind of pointing at where.
What am I looking at?
This is an aerial map. You can see it here too. So this is Cherry Drive right here, and that's Yarborough Drive above his property.
That's way down past.
Yeah, so if this is Cherry Drive, you say you live at the end, so your property's got to be here.
Okay.
It's just a question of which parcel do you live on.
I'm having trouble. My property is at the end of Cherry Drive, and I'm not sure about this property, this map.
So this is the end of Cherry Drive. Right?
Yes. And there's no access to the back of that property for the parcel that they have because I'm at the end. And how do you get to the back of the 100 acres? Because I do have the driveways, but it's private property. And so the county has no access to that.
All right, so we'll bring the applicant up, and I'll ask him some questions about that. But
Okay.
I still want to see where your property is, if you can help us. You and Mr. Brown can figure that out.
Walk around that
Okay.
way, yeah.
I think expand it a little bit larger. You're probably the end of Cherry.
End of Cherry.
That's right there. That's right there.
Okay. Yeah. So where's the 100 acres?
The red line, the red line.
Okay, then mine is at the end. Right at that.
Large parcel, how many acres do you have?
I have 4.
4 acres?
Her parcel looks to be rectangular in shape with the smallest side is adjoining the property in question. Michael, does that sound right?
I'm thinking she's on the opposite side of the road.
Does that help?
Yes, ma'am.
You're on Cherry, or you on the left or right side? Coming down Cherry.
Coming down Cherry, I'm on the right side.
You're on the right side.
What's your address?
7224 Cherry Drive. And I also have another parcel that adjoins my property. And,
Not where the C is in Cherry? Yeah, right up here, right there.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is.
And so, the access to the back part adjoins me, but because I own that, so. Any other? I love animals, so it's not anything to do with animals, but I just am very concerned with the smell, with the flies, and my access to my outside.
Right.
Since this joins right up to my driveway.
Ms.
And
Thurman,
that-
so, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's
Go ahead. So, it looks like your property is a rectangular shaped property, and the smaller part of the rectangle looks like it adjoins the property in question, right? So, how close to that property line is your house? To the rear property line?
Ooh, I'm sorry. I have a driveway, then I have part of my yard, and then it's my house. Because when I built the house, we built on the back side of the 2.5 acre plot that we bought, the closest part to that property. And so that's why if I lived closer to Cherry Drive, it would be not nearly as much of an issue. But since I'm on the back part of the 2.5 acre that originally I purchased, it would. Well, my ex-husband actually inherited the property, and so we built on the back part of it, being farther away from the road.
Okay.
And so that's what it is.
All right,
So that's why I'm a little bit closer to that property.
So I understand your opposition. We'll bring the applicant up and talk through these things, but keep in mind for the we don't know how many cattle he's planning on having. We'll ask him about that. But also, if you look at it, there's a good number of acres, and the chances of the cows hanging right in front of your property will probably be pretty slim.
How many cows are they talking about?
Well, we're going to bring him up and ask him about that. So, but, it looks like the majority of his pasture is in the northern part away from your property too. So, I mean, if you consider that.
That's where I think the
Okay, and the house is in the back half of the property. Okay. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that.
I could easily, because it joins my driveway, back part of my driveway.
Okay, well, we're going to ask him about access to the property.
Ms. Thurman, did you say you have a pool in the back of your house?
Beg your pardon?
A pool, a swimming pool? Okay,
It's an in-ground pool, yeah.
all right.
And the porches, in fact, one of the porches is off, I have a screened-in porch off my bedroom, and it faces that property.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a buffer, is there going to be between their house and the...
There's not one that is required.
Okay. All right. Well, Ms. Herman, thank you for your comments and remarks. Mr. O'Dallin, would you come up and I'll give you a chance to talk about it and then see if we have some questions for you.
Sure. Her house is probably 200 feet, 300 feet from the property line.
Okay.
Just for frame of reference. I know where her house is.
Okay. So, let me try some questions, see if I can address
Sure.
those concerns, and then you can add to it. So tell me about how are you going to access your property? Which road are you coming from?
Well, there's
laser
a drive
point-
that we
there-
own, so.
Pardon the interruption. There's a laser pointer right there if
yeah.
you want to use that to help us follow you.
So this is the property that's already zoned agricultural that we own as well.
Okay.
There's a drive right here that connects to Cherry Drive that gets us in the back, so.
All right,
I
Ms.
don't
Thurman,
need
you see,
access.
Ms. Thurman, you see that where he's going to be coming in at is above your property?
We already have a gate.
Show us one more time. So he's going to be
Right.
coming off Cherry Avenue. He owns that property right there.
Yeah, I'm nowhere near her driveway.
Okay.
I don't need her property for
Okay,
access
all right.
at all.
All right, thank you for that. And so tell me about your plan. I understand you're going to graze cattle there.
Yes,
so how many head are you talking about?
Well, it depends. I mean, you have to take what the land will give you into consideration, right? So we are a all grass, all natural outfit. So we manage the soil more than we do just anything else. So it depends on what the ground produces, right? So you manage to what is what the pasture will give you. You don't just put an arbitrary number.
I understand, but I mean, you have
It's
an idea.
probably 50 or so, and could fluctuate.
Okay. So
When you say fluctuate, I understand what you're saying, but could it be as high as 100 or as high
Yeah,
as
sure.
200?
Sure.
Could it be as high as 500?
No, the land wouldn't support that much, right? So it's not a feed lot. This is all pasture land, so you rotationally graze and move them through the property all the time. The odds of them being anywhere around there in a 30 or 40 day period is probably visible 5 days a month, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, looking at the numbers, I mean, we're looking at just over 100 acres, so that's an acre per head at 50, half an acre per head if you're at 100. So, I mean,
It's 123 acres
yeah.
in total.
So that's a lot of room for one cow, so per acre. So,
Yeah, one per acre. The state standard is 1.5 head per acre.
so how are you going to section off the parcel? Is it going to be open, the whole parcel open or fenced for cattle to roam? Or are you going to do it in have like an upper and lower field?
Yeah, the pastures will all be cross-fenced and split up depending on topography and some of that once we get the trees cleared. Depends on kind of, again, what the ground shows us it will sustain once we're done with that. But the perimeter fence is going in now, and then we'll cross-fence to divide things up.
Okay. Is there any fencing in place right now?
Very little. There's some leftovers in a few places, but no, mostly it's not fenced at all.
Okay, and I understand Ms. Thurman's concerns about odor and pests, and we talked about access already. But you said, her house is probably 200 feet from the
Probably
property
200
line, something like that. So,
I wouldn't want to live there either if it was a chicken farm or a chicken house or something like that going in, because those are terribly smell. But an all natural, a pasture cattle operation is not smelly. It's not a feed yard. They're not standing around in cement and mud, you know what I mean? So it's very, very different.
Mr. Thurman, I see your hand up. Just hang on a moment. We'll get, just hang on a minute. I'll let you, so, I'll come back to you, okay? So, anything else you want to add, or discussion?
And I'll answer any questions.
So
Okay.
there are trees on the property now that you have to take down?
Yes. Some, we've already cleared about 25 acres or something. Right? And, I mean, the wastewater treatment plant is right here, so.
Any other questions from any of the commissioners?
I'm just curious, would you be opposed to, if you have trees and things that are already in place, leaving those in place, just put that on her back property?
Well, yeah, there's a buffer of probably 10, 12 feet from the property line that we don't trim. So all along the property line, all the way down,
Which side are you going to fence? Towards?
all sides,
No,
all
I'm
the
sorry,
red
let me
lines.
rephrase it. Which side of the buffer? Are you going to fence the property line, or,
No, inside the property line, about 15 feet.
so you'll have the property line, the buffer, and then the fence?
Yes.
Okay.
10 to 15 feet, some 20, depends on topography and stuff, but we don't fence right up to the property line.
So you're going to leave the trees all along that?
Yes, yeah, that's already been cut. So
Okay.
there's probably 8, 12 feet, depending of trees before you would get to the property line.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners? All right, if there's nothing else you want to add, I'd like to see what Ms. Thurman, she may have a redirect, and then we're going to close the hearing. Ms. Thurman, this is kind of like the one, you can come on up, I'll just say, like,
Basically, my question is to this gentleman.
well, you ask it to us and we'll get an answer for
He
you,
was
okay?
referring to pasture land. That partial was next to me, it was all woods. Then, so they've come in and cut all the trees, so it's not pasture land. So, am I correct?
So hang on, one point of order, so talk to me and then I'll talk to him, and then we'll, okay?
He was referring to pasture.
Yes.
This land was not pasture. It was all trees, and so people have come in and just totally taken all the trees down off that property. So it wasn't originally pasture land, and now it's just dirt. So that's why I was questioning, like, where's the pasture land?
Okay, well, it sounds like he's clearing it to plant and
To
become
plant.
pasture land, so, and it sounds like I haven't visited the site, maybe you could share with us, your property line that borders his right there, he's already cleared that in the back. Are there trees that are left right at the back of your property where he cleared, or did he clear up to the line, do you recall?
From what I see, it's all cleared.
Okay, so, and
Thank you.
do you have trees along your property line?
They have left a few trees.
On your side of the property?
Yeah.
On your side, do you have trees and such there?
There's just a few trees on the property line.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. O'Dowd, since I gave her opportunity, anything else you want to add? Are you planting
Yes.
the area right now?
Yeah, we will be, yes.
Okay, all right. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
Dale? Mr. Rowe? Would you have any objection in the motion, if we agree to approve this, that you would maintain a 10 to 15-foot buffer on the tree line? On the fence line?
Well, some of it's already done, around her property, so that the fence is already in. So I'm not going to rip up fence, but it's probably, I'm guessing, it's probably 8 to 15 feet, because we already had it mapped out, and we don't ever cut up to the property line. But there is a buffer there.
Would you maintain a natural buffer?
We will maintain a buffer. Yeah, I don't have any, because I want to be able to mend fence and work on the fence. I need to be on both sides of it. I don't want to encroach on her property to do that, so.
You'd be okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I have a question for staff. How would we craft that motion just for her property?
You wouldn't. and this is all being done on his property. So you don't need a buffer requirement. The
No, I
buffer
mean-
will be maintained on his
That's
side.
what I mean, how do we craft it for, let me rephrase the question.
It's a minimum of 8 feet.
I'd say it's probably about, I mean, it kind of, there's some ebb and flow, right? The topography of the land is pretty hilly or rolling hills, so as they could cut, you know, sometimes they were up closer to the property flags, sometimes they're 6, 8 feet, 10 feet, sometimes they're 15 feet because, you know, they just couldn't access it. So it kind of ebbs and flows a little bit. But around her property line, I'd say it's probably an average of, let's call it 10 feet from the property.
So we could do something like a nominal 10-foot natural buffer maintained on his property line. Is it where it adjoins Miss Thurman's property?
I think you just need to do it along the property line.
Okay, so, Mr., sorry, I got Adalyn, so
Yes.
related to that, so would you, just to be clear, what we're talking about is saying that you'd maintain a nominal 10-foot buffer along all your property lines?
Sure, where it bumps out to other residents' properties, sure. We plan on doing that anyway.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
yes, ma'am.
I have a question for Mr. Oderman.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, so Ms. Thurman says she's concerned about flies and odor and all of that. What is your view of it?
My view is she probably hasn't been around cattle very much, because cattle out in the pasture, that's not. When you think of odor and flies and all that, you think about livestock that's in containment, like in a feed yard, where there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of head. I mean, if that was a feed yard, I'd have 3,000 head of livestock on there, not 100. And when they're heavily confined and heavily grouped together, you can get those kind of problems. Again, it's not pigs, it's not chickens that can be heavily odorous, right? It's just not. It doesn't equate to that because cows aren't as smelly as. But confinement is what brings the nuisance issues of livestock. It's heavily grouped together in a confined space is where you get issues. I wouldn't want to live next to it either. But I would never do that. It goes against what we believe in. But that's where the problems come in, is where you'll get smells or things like that if you were to roll up onto or being close to a confinement area. That's where odor would come from. They're too spread out. They're moving too often. I mean, they move them twice a day. They're never in the one spot more than 12 hours.
Okay, thank you.
So a couple of follow-up questions, so off Dr. Dickerson's questions.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're just going to solely graze them, or you're going to be doing any supplemental feeding?
No, we don't.
But if you do, you probably do it up towards your gate, right?
I will never bunker feed or put them in confinement. No, that's not what we do.
Okay. And how about your water source? Do you have a water source on site?
Yeah, we're putting in wells. We also could be on city water if we needed to. I've already talked to the city about that. The water main goes right under our main drive, so.
And if you water them, you're probably not going to be watering them near her property, are you?
No.
Okay, so they won't congregate in front of your property line, so that's good.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, the point is that of the 123, we're not grazing on the other side of Turkey Creek. We're leaving that standing, so it's about 115, call it. Grazable will be 110 of that, probably 5 acres in road and barns, stuff like. Maybe not that much, but I'm just allowing for it. Right now, I've got it plotted for 2 wells, one on the extremes to get water around. So the cattle move all the time. So there's not a central location for that type of stuff.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Thank you. You can.
Yeah.
They move all the time, but there's got to be some place where they excrete.
Everywhere.
I think this is what she was concerned about. Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't smell like that. Yeah. I mean, that's what turns the grass green and allows everything to grow, right? It's manure we put on our ground. So landscapers bag it up and sell it to us back, right? So it's confinement where you're going to get a heavy concentration is always what ruins it, right? So if we were putting a feeding barn butting up to her property, then I could see that being a potential issue where you'd have smell constantly and stuff like that. But they're just not going to be around enough for that to be the case because, frankly, cattle manure in 2 or 3 days in the sun is done anyway. It's changed.
And just to piggyback off that, if there ever were to be a livestock barn, they'd have some pretty stringent setbacks. I believe it's 300 feet from the nearest residence, 100 feet off the property line. So if that were to ever come at any point in the future, they'd have to mind those, again, very stringent setbacks for those livestock barns to be located.
Yeah, commercial barn, right?
Well, just livestock barn here.
Which would all have to be permitted through the county.
Correct.
All right. Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you, sir. And ask for motions on Z210047.
Chairman, I make a motion that we approve Z21-0047 with stipulation that there will be a 8 to 10 foot natural buffer maintained along the fence line.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second.
Again, I thought we were on the, that we wanted to do that around existing residences, is that correct?
No, we said the whole property.
Whole property, okay. All right.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Anyone opposed? All right. Motion passes. And I will note that we only make a recommendation to the county commission. This will be heard at the next county commission meeting. Is that right, Michael?
Yes.
And it will be, property owners will be noticed. So, Ms. Thurman, you'll have another opportunity if you want to.
Is this, when this happens, is it going to have a negative effect on my property value?
I don't know.
No, everything's agricultural. Your property's agricultural, his property's being rezoned agricultural. I doubt it, and this is just pasture land for grazing cattle. And it's just a.
Would you want to live next to a pasture?
Would you rather live next to a subdivision and zone residential right now, turn it into a subdivision?
Okay, so I'm gonna grab back control of the meeting here. So I understand your question. We normally don't discuss these things here, so we don't have any way. I'm not a real estate agent. I don't know, or a tax assessor. I don't.
That is one of my concerns.
I understand, and we review these. You can bring your comment to the county commission when they have their meeting to discuss this one and bring it up. And
I will get that notice like I did this.
You will. So, and Michael, you can even when is the next meeting that this will be heard at? You think?
I believe it's February the 16th.
So it'll be sometime in February. You'll get notice.
17th. February the 17th. That will be the scheduled zoning hearing date.
Okay. So this will be heard again at that meeting, and you can come and both of y'all can be there, and you'll be presenting your case, and you can bring up your opposition again. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. We'll go on to our next case. This is zoning case Z210048. The property owners are the Patels, and Dinesh Patel is the applicant. This is a request of change in zoning to C1 commercial to remove split zoning and open a bingo hall. The current zoning is C1 commercial and I2A industrial/salvage. This is in the McCalla area on Eastern Valley Road. Mr. Brown, would you present the case, please, sir?
If you'll give the applicants just a minute to come in the room, then I'll present my case.
I'm sorry, the applicant's not here?
He's here. He's coming in the room now
Okay.
as you're speaking. Okay. So this is case Z-21-48. The applicant is Dinesh Patel. For the property owners, Dinesh Jitaban and Krishnakumar Patel. The request is for a map amendment from C1 and I2A industrial salvage to C1 commercial. And this is for the purpose of moving split zoning, but to also allow commercial uses. There was a conversation just prior to this meeting, so this will no longer be a bingo hall according to the applicants. Instead, they're recommending that it'll be either a convenience store or slash liquor store. One or the other, it could potentially be both. The property is located at 1329 Eastern Valley Road in the McCalla area. There were several letters of opposition, but those letters are all referencing the bingo hall and not the new proposed use. Again, the liquor store slash convenience store. The liquor store would be permitted within a C1 zoning district as well as a convenience store, and staff's recommendation would remain the same. We would recommend approval of this proposed request. Okay. The applicants are present.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brown. So if the applicant would like to add to his presentation before we hear opposition, who's the applicant today? So do you want to add to his presentation any, or do you just want me to call for opposition? Okay, all right. So is there any opposition here today? Okay, would you like to come up and tell us your name, address, and go through your opposition, please, sir?
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Light. I live at 1120 Potter Avenue in Bessemer, Alabama. And I'm the pastor of Eastern Valley Baptist Church, which is at 1216 Potter Avenue, just a few blocks from the proposed site. I was asked 3 days ago by business owners and residents in our community to represent us. Per your letter, or the letter that was sent out, you didn't want a whole crowd of folks here, so they've asked me to come and voice their opposition. I bring with me more than 300 signatures of residents and business owners that are in the area opposing a bingo hall. Now, that's what the letter stated, and that's what the emails that were sent to you guys were in opposition to, because that's what we were told was going in there. I'm not sure it's fair for us now to have to address other issues or other commercial places. So let me just speak to the bingo hall issue. In our area of Eastern Valley, we are very densely populated residential single-family homes, very densely populated with families. We've got a handful of commercial properties in the middle of our community that have always, for decades, served the community and served families. Within the last year, we have had this would be the fourth proposed commercial property that is 24 hours adult-only properties within a mile radius, or a mile on Eastern Valley Road. Within really 7/10 of a mile of Eastern Valley Road, running right through the heart of our community. All of these businesses were once businesses that served families. This property that is being proposed to change has always been an automotive, either auto body or automotive shop, or there is a yard in the back that is heavily fenced and closed off visually that did probably have some salvage vehicles, but you could not really see those from the road. It has always been a place that has served the families of Eastern Valley as an automotive shop. We're not here arguing against urbanization or arguing against businesses coming into our community. We're here in opposition to the anti-family businesses that continue to pop up. I'm not here as a preacher to preach against the sin of gambling or the sin of drinking or anything like that. I'm here as a concerned citizen, as a concerned resident, representing my church and other churches in a small radius, representing business owners who have seen their insurance rates go up because crime has come into our community as a result of 24-hour adult-only businesses that are now concentrated in any empty building they can find. We were told that's what was going to happen to this property, and that's what we are adamantly against. I continue to believe that if this is rezoned for commercial, even if there's a convenience store, there will be bingo machines moved in, and then who's going to move them out? The sheriff is not doing it. It will be used, if I heard a minute ago, a private club. If a private club moves in, will families be welcome in that private club? This is in the middle of a densely populated, if you look at the map, Google Maps, you will see single-family homes all around this place. And it is bringing in crime. I've spoken and gotten testimony from the sheriff deputies that sit across from these locations, that sit across from this property, and watch the crime that comes through our community. He has told me if I run the licenses of those people in that bingo hall, half will come back with warrants. And those are not people from our community. Those are people coming into our community 24 hours a day. We have seen an increase in foot traffic and an increase in car traffic outside of our neighborhood coming to these places 24 hours a day. Our property values are going down because of the crime. Our insurance rates are going up because of the crime. Crime that was brought not by business, because these businesses have been there for decades, brought by these certain types of businesses. Certain types of businesses that don't serve families and don't serve our community. They erode community pride. Every community to thrive needs to have pride in their community. But when you cross the railroad tracks into our community and you see bingo, 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 or now maybe even liquor store, what does that do to the community pride? And does that help our families, our churches, our businesses thrive? I spoke to one business owner who runs a pharmacy that has served our community for decades. He said, Jason, if my insurance goes up, if I'm broken into one more time and I have to claim it on my insurance and it goes up, I'm going to have to close down. That is a business that serves the residents and the families of our community. So I'm here speaking for him. I'm here speaking for the folks that come to my church. I'm here to speak for the residents and my neighbors beside me that see their property values go down. These are properties that in many cases, that's their only asset. That's the only asset this family has, is this house. And they've seen their property values decrease because of the types of businesses that continue to come into our neighborhood that do not serve families. I could speak passionately all day, but I'll just wrap it up and ask you to protect the families, churches, and the businesses of my community by denying access to or denying this request to rezone this property for anything other than what it is now, so that a bingo hall or a liquor store or something else that doesn't serve families of my community will not move in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Light.
I apologize.
Can I speak just for, I'm sorry, excuse me. I've got the petitions right here with more than 300 names. I did not get those in yesterday. I apologize. If there's any way I could submit those to you sometime today or whatever, I would appreciate you allowing me to do so. Mr. Law. Okay.
Yeah, you can give them to the gentleman right there to your left. Okay. So, is there any other opposition here today? All right. So, applicant, would you come up to the podium and you heard the opposition? If you would like to address that and give us any additional details.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, in order to establish a package store, which forgive me, this is the first time I'm hearing about this, you have to be located within 1,000 feet of a church or school. In this instance, they're not going to meet that requirement, so we couldn't permit the liquor store in this location.
Okay, understood. Thank you for that bit of information. So, one of the applicants.
I'll let you do it. I'm sorry. I would like to ask a question.
All right. Well, Just hold on. So would the applicant please come up to the podium and give us your name and address to start with, please?
Dinesh Patel, address 1322 Eastern Valley Road, Bessemer, Alabama 35020.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with a few questions, and then you can add things in as you like, Mr. Patel.
Sure.
So when we first got this morning and started talking about it, we understood you were interested in opening a bingo hall, and since you've changed your mind on that based on the discussion. So the current parcel is divided into, has two zonings, a split zoning, a C1 in the front, commercial, and the rear is an industrial salvage
Correct.
type operation. And you want to make, your request is not specifically for a bingo hall, but for C1 commercial.
For any retailer store.
Okay, could you tell us what your planned use is and some
right
details about it?
We have another store right across the street from that, and we were just trying to open the first one we thought about we were going to open a bingo because it's 2-3 bingos down the road, and some they're under tables they're doing. So we were trying to open a bingo hall, but we changed the mind. We don't want to do a bingo hall. We're going to go for either another gas station or a package store, liquor store.
Okay, so I think you heard Mr. Morrison discussed that because it's within 1,000 feet of a school or church that you can't have alcohol sales. So.
You couldn't do liquor for off-premise consumption, or you couldn't do liquor or beer for on-premise consumption, but you can't do that seamlessly anywhere unless you're in a restaurant.
So is
It's going to be off-premise.
So any liquor sales allowed at all, either on or off premises?
They could make applications theoretically if there were to be a restaurant, to do a restaurant that serves alcohol in conjunction with the food, they would have to have 70% of their sales be.
And that's the only way you could sell alcohol, beer, or wine?
Yes. Now, they could do off-premise beer and wine at the location, but again, that just requires a liquor law.
Okay.
But that's allowed in any C1 location.
Okay, so it wouldn't be any liquor, but it could be beer and wine for off premise.
Beer and wine, theoretically.
So just like a regular convenience store. Okay.
Most Dollar Generals now.
Okay. So what hours of operation are you thinking for your convenience store?
From 6 to 10.
So I apologize, I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you speak up?
Yeah, 6 to 10.
6 to 10?
Yes, sir.
So tell me about the property. Would you be coming in and basically demoing the property and building a store, or are you going to modify the existing store?
No, we're just going to put a shelf in, and the building's already up there, so we're just going to open back up.
Okay, so you just remodel the store?
Yes.
Or the building?
Yes.
And you have to put gas tanks in, I presume.
No.
You're not going to sell gas?
No, because we have a store right across the street from there, so we're not going to sell gas.
Okay. All right. And I'm guessing 7 days a week?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Yes, Dr. Dickerson.
So it's a convenience store that you're putting in? A convenience store that you're putting in?
No, we have a convenience store right across the street from this building, from 1329, but we were trying to open as a liquor store.
Okay, but you can't, according to what we've heard from Mr. Morrison, you can't open a liquor store. So is it going to be a convenience store now, or what is it going to be
It's going to be a convenience store as well.
as well?
So just to be clear, Mr. Patel,
So no more liquor stores. So
you understand
we're gonna
you
open
can't sell liquor. You can with a permit you can sell beer and wine.
All right.
Okay. And that's what you're talking about,
All right.
right? Okay.
Thank you.
Well, hang on. Don't go anywhere. I want to see if there's any more questions. Do any of the commissioners have any more questions for Mr. Patel?
Mr. Patel, just to let you know, if you do any kind of modification to the building, you need to come back with a site plan to be approved.
Yes, sir.
If you remodel it, you're okay, but if you do anything with the property of the building, we would have to approve that.
All right. We was working on it, we just got done the painting work and the electrician work done.
So, did you understand what he said? Okay. All right. So,
but nothing else.
So the industrial part of the zoning in the back, it has fencing around it. Are you going to maintain that fencing?
It's always been a fence up there. We just bought the building not too long ago.
Okay. So if we were to approve the zoning, we want to maintain the fencing around the back for where the residential areas are?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Also, would they down lighting?
Yes, sir. The lighting's already in there.
Not-
Yes, sir.
So it'd need to be directional, like facing downward, not projecting upwards for
Yes.
light pollution?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay.
The notices went out to the public, and we all perceived this to be a bingo. Now things have changed. There's another notice out to the public or some other type of correspondence to make them aware
The
that
notice
now
will
this
be,
has changed.
the notice will be modified for the county commission.
So, you make a good point. So, and it was a very specific use, and what we've asked, the use has changed, but it's still a commercial zoning, and if what we're considering today is a commercial zoning, we would be considering, regardless of how it was noticed, we'd be considering the use, which we're doing, we're changing the considered use in the C1 zoning, but not the actual zoning classification. So, and we could do that, but I think it's fair that we consider the C1 zoning, and then any issue that might be considered administratively will be addressed when it's renoticed for the county commission when they consider it. So I think that addresses that. So, but thank you for the point, Ms. Forsythe.
I got a question. The convenience store across the street, does it sell beer and wine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other questions?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
So is the market that strong, Mr. Patel, for you to have two convenience stores selling beer and wine?
Mm-hmm.
It's profit.
Okay, I see your hand up. Hang on a second. So is there anything else you'd like to add? Your opposition, I mean, he talked about, having worried about crime. You're going to keep hours that aren't 24/7. Wanting to keep it more of a commercial business type, not an adult type establishment, and being very community oriented. So, anything you'd like to add towards that about what you're planning?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll give you a chance for one more thing. Okay.
Can I just make one comment? And
certainly, Mr. Brown, go ahead.
You can come forward. I think it wasn't established, and Michael can confer that the county would not be entertaining bingo halls per the county attorney's office, and that came subsequent to this applicant's request. And so the notices went out with the bingo hall advertised on the notice. So this applicant had the choice of modifying the proposed use after he was told and the staff was informed that bingo halls were not permissible, and the county commission would not be entertaining those rezoning applications. So that's how that came about in this fashion, in this order.
So, Mr. Brown, I just want to be clear. So basically, he applied for bingo hall. The county said, we're not going to entertain any bingo halls, and he was allowed to change his use at that point.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The county attorney's office.
Okay.
Well, yes, we called them and let them know what was found, or what was.
The county attorney said they were
The
not.
county attorney's office, and subsequent to that.
Okay.
He said he was going to change the proposed use, and I said, after we noticed and everything with all the adjacent property owners, you just need to make that request at this public.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Earlier, it was noted that the use may be for a private club. I would like that stipulated that there would be opposition from the community for any kind of private club like that. I'd also like to say that work has already been done to the outside of the building. They have already closed in the roll-up doors that have been there for decades, that cars rolled in and out of there. They've already closed that in and painted the outside of the building. We have had buildings modified by bingo halls recently in this year with big bright lights on them that shine into people's windows. I know one homeowner I've spoken with said they had to move their bedroom from the front of the house to the back of the house because of the light issue. So I appreciate you mentioning the light issue from that. And I would ask that when use is stipulated, that also the building modifications be stipulated as well. They've already done, work to close off and change the building. So that's what I wanted to, just those things.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay. So, Mr. Patel, I had a follow-up question for you, if you don't mind coming back up to the podium. So, would it be acceptable to you if we recommend approval to limit the use to a convenience store?
Yes.
Okay, which means you couldn't do anything else there without coming back for a rezoning request.
Yes, sir.
And that if you substantially modify the premises, that you'd have to come back for approval as well. So it'd be basically existing structure, allow for remodels as necessary. So, okay. So,
That's a suggestion. You may just want to limit it to a retail establishment. That way they're not pigeonholed exactly into just convenience.
okay. Anybody, any other commissioners have any clarifications while we have Mr. Patel up? Any questions? All right. Sounds good. Mr. Brown, I see you'd like to add something.
I just have this burning desire to say this. I apologize. You guys are at the end of this case. I would, and this is just a suggestion, you don't have to follow my advice. I would word the condition as excluding a private club, excluding a bingo hall, which, excluding liquor stores. I don't think the liquor store wouldn't be approved anyway.
I can't permit bingo anyway.
Yeah, you can't permit bingo.
If we limit it to retail, that excludes that.
Okay.
That excludes that anyway.
Yeah. All right. Just a suggestion.
Good, but thank you for the discussion. I appreciate it. All right, so I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for a motion on the zoning case.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve Z21-0047 with the following stipulations. That the hours of operations be limited to 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week. That you maintain the current wooden fence boundary back of the store. That there be directional lighting in a downward fashion. And you be limited to a retail establishment only.
Just a clarification, it was case 48, not 47?
48, yes. Z21-0048.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Yes.
All right, would you call the roll, please?
Brian Debo,
Aye.
Dr. Brother Dickerson,
No.
Martin Evans,
He's not here today.
oh,
It's okay.
Christy Forsythe,
Aye.
Ken Lowry,
Aye.
Jay Miller,
Aye.
Chris Nicholson, George McCoy O'Neill, Michael and Siegler.
Aye.
Chairman, we have 6 ayes, 2 nays.
All right, motion passes to recommend approval. Thank you, everyone. So we have one more case to hear today. This is a special.
It's his property. He bought it.
This is a special use permit request. The permit number is 210034M-sign. This is the Grace Life Church. David Brandt is the applicant. This is a request to allow a monument sign of having 128 square feet and a 9-foot in height sign in an institutional zoning in the McCalla area. Mr. Morrison?
Yes, sir.
This adjustment, or this larger sign face and sign square footage, was previously approved within the past couple of years. On the screen is what was approved originally, and you'll see it's just your traditional monument sign, two-faced, in one solid structure. At this location, they're constructing a roundabout at the intersection where McAdory School Road intersects with Old Tuscaloosa Highway and also intersects with the driveway to the church. And what they're proposing to do is to modify that
Mr.
sign.
Morrison, I apologize. Excuse me, would y'all mind either taking it outside for a moment? That's okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Morrison.
Okay. Now what they're proposing to do is just to modify the sign structure to be more of a triangular shape, where you've got the same amount of signage. It's just, again, just the structure has changed, so they can have visibility from all sides of that roundabout. And so in order to modify the structure and the size of the structure itself, you had to come back and get another special use permit from you all. So with that being said, and it's already had a previous approval, again, it will go through regular site plan approval just like any other sign does, and traffic engineering, and everyone else will have a chance to review it. Again, this is just to consider this particular sign structure at this location.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Morrison. Applicant here? All right. Is there any opposition to this special use permit request? All right. Would you mind coming up and tell us your name and see if we have any questions? Name and address, sorry.
Yes, sir. David Brandt, Favorite Services, 133 West Park Drive, Birmingham 35211, here to represent our client, Grace Life Church. Mike summarized it perfectly. It's the same sign that was approved a couple years back. It was like May of 2020. We're just opening it up. We're doing this. It was this when it was sitting in the median of the drive-in of the church, the access road to the main campus of the church, but with the rotunda, the roundabout. Now we improve the visibility angle of the sign by just basically going V-shaped rather than. So the size of the sign, and there's obviously two single-sided signs. So in terms of square footage, it's the same amount of square footage. It's a different shape essentially.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that description, Mr. Brandt. Roads and Transportation, during our pre-meeting, had talked about this, and I won't say there's concern, but there'll need to be some oversight when this is permitted to make sure the location, there's not a site distance issue. I'll give Mr. Nicholson an opportunity if he wants to add any comments or remarks.
That's exactly right. Just during typical permitting phase, we'll review the site plan, and actually in construction phase, for the party's awareness sake, we'll ask the sign to be staked out. That way, make sure it's off right away, and to have utilities located. All standard things, but just to say it out loud, make everybody aware of it. If there's a water line, maybe something.
Yeah. You make that mistake once, and you don't do it again. You can call 811 or 311 before you dig. So, understood. No problem.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners? All right. Thank you. I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve 210034M-sign as presented.
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Motion approved. Thank you. And that ends our business for today. We are adjourned. Thank y'all.
228. Better than I thought, too.
Thank you, sir.
I understand it, but I'm like, at the same time.
But you can't deny it.
I'm saying he bought it, he paid for it, he understands. But he was fine with it, like, okay.
That's a sign.
But he's fine. But I'm like, are you making that much money?
But anybody else have just applied to bring a complaint, we said yes.
Thanks.
You like it, you can just tell, Sat made right. He's gonna try to open a big hawk, they're not enforcing it.
Like, yeah, L-I-G-H-C or L-E-I?
Now, we'll get a paycheck after that.
So, Dr. Dickerson, I apologize. I called you Beverly at least once or twice earlier today. Beverly by accident. So.
All right, good peoples.
Michael, wait and see if you don't try to open a big hawk.
I know that too, except I never go on when you think Albert in my life.
That's why I never,